Hello, dear students. Welcome again. I hope you all are doing great at home. In our previous class, we have started life processes and we have defined it. We have told that these are the biological process which keeps an organism alive by, by performing various maintenance process. And under these, we have told various life process. Those are nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion. And today we are going to begin the first life process, that is nutrition. And we will define this. This is the process by which an organism obtains the food and utilizes it is called as nutrition. We need it for the energy. So all the organisms, how the way they obtain and utilize it is called as nutrition. And why do we need the nutrition? We need the nutrition for the energy. To perform various activities, we need the energy, so we need the nutrition. Besides this, we also need the nutrition for the growth and repair function. And we have told what is the nutrients. These are the food components which are necessary for our body are called as nutrients. And based on the amount of nutrients that we consume, those are two types, macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients are needed in the larger quantity. Those are carbohydrates, proteins, fats are the main nutrients which are required at the larger quantities, so they are called as macronutrients. There are minerals, vitamins, these are required in the smaller quantities, so they are micronutrients. But do all organisms have same kind of food? Do all organisms obtain similar way? Do all organisms obtain food in the similar way? So they obtain in the various ways because they are diverse. The organisms in the nature, they are very diverse and they have various modes of taking food. But if you say that on the broad category, if you classify them, there are two types of nutrition. Those are autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic. Autos means self. Trophos means nutrition. So autotrophic means self-nutrition. So these organisms can synthesize their own food. So in order to define the autotrophic nutrition, we can say that the mode of nutrition in which an organism prepares its own food is called as autotrophic nutrition. So they are preparing their own food. Example is plants. They have ability to synthesize their own food. And there are some other algae and bacteria which can make their own food by the photosynthesis and also various process. And they make food from the carbon dioxide and water. These are simple inorganic substances. We are going to see what is inorganic and organic in our next slide. So these autotrophs, they are able to make their food from the inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water, and also they use sunlight and other source of energies. The other kind of nutrition is heterotrophic nutrition, the mode of nutrition in which an organism depends on other organisms for its food is called as heterotrophic nutrition. They cannot synthesize their own food. They need to get their food from the other organisms. Like suppose human, we usually either eat the plant-based diet or we also take the meat. These are all coming from the other organisms. So we are all dependent on the other organisms. So most of the animals, either if you take the grass eating animals like cow, then goat, they are all also feeding on the other organisms. So all the animals are heterotrophs. These organisms, they utilize complex substance, the complex substances like carbohydrates, proteins, which need to be broken down into the simple substances. When we are taking food, it is usually in the complex form. It needs to be broken down. It needs to be simplified. From the complex, it needs to be simplified, and it can happen only by the process of it can happen only in the important process, that is in the digestion. To aid this digestion, to help the digestion to go on, there are some biocatalysts required, and those biocatalysts are called as enzymes. Enzymes are the molecules that help in fastening the reaction. Like they can rapidly increase the speed of reaction. So we will discuss about enzymes later on. You will also study about enzymes in the chemistry class. An example for heterotrophic nutrition is all the animals fungi and some bacteria, they are all heterotrophs. So this picture you can see here, autotrophs are usually producers, which means they produce the food. They produce their own food for energy, and they use the photosynthesis or chemosynthesis. When we say photosynthesis, the source of energy is sun, whereas chemosynthesis means the source of energy is some chemicals. So there are various plants, some bacteria and algae, they undergo this photosynthesis or chemosynthesis to produce the food. And the other category is heterotrophs. Those are consumers. They eat other organisms to get protein and energy. Example, grasshopper, toad, and all the human beings and the animals, we are all heterotrophs. And the next, we are going to begin autotrophic nutrition. We are going to see this in the elaborate way, autotrophos, which means auto means self, trophos means nutrition, which is derived from the Greek, and autotrophic organisms are able to produce organic matter from simple or inorganic materials. So here there is a question, what is organic and what is inorganic? So let us understand what is organic and inorganic. First, if you say organic compounds, they contain carbon, they have carbon in them. Like organic compound, any compound, they have carbon in them. Example, if you say carbohydrates, like if you take the rice, if you take the bread, these are all having the carbohydrates, so there is carbon in it. So most of the carbon containing molecules are usually organic, except the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, though it has carbon, it is not an organic compound. So that is an exception. Rest other compounds, organic compounds, they have carbon in them. And there are inorganic compounds which do not have this carbon, and example is like salt, water, oxygen. Usually the inorganic substances are obtained from the non-living, like from the soil. From the soil, whatever the nutrients are coming up, those nutrients can be called as inorganic compounds. And whereas the organic means they are derived from the living source. Like if you take the bread, if you say the bread is usually made, it is taken out from the wheat. So wheat is a living organism. If you take the protein, there is a meat here, that is also a living organism. The fat also, usually it is coming from the living entities. So usually the organic, they are having the carbon based compounds, and also they are derived from the living animals or living plants. So they are usually from the plant, they are from the living entities. Whereas inorganic, they are coming from the non-living entities like soil, water, air, they are coming from these, and they are usually not having the carbon. And we are going to see how these autotrophs are able to produce their own food, and it is by the important process, that is photosynthesis. And we are going to define photosynthesis. It is a process of synthesis of food by using the carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So let's decode this. This seems to be complex. What happens is, if you see the picture here, there is sunlight coming and hitting the plant, and there is carbon dioxide which is present in the environment, and there is water. So these plants takes the sunlight, the energy in the sunlight is taken up by this plant, and also carbon dioxide from the external environment and water from the roots. It is taking into this, and then this sunlight, carbon dioxide, and then water is helping to make carbohydrates, and that carbohydrate is its food. And also, and the additional process, it is producing out the oxygen. So it is taking the oxygen, it is taking the carbon dioxide, and it is giving out the oxygen. That is very vital in the environment. So let us read it again. Photosynthesis is the process of synthesis of food by using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. And chlorophyll is present inside the plant. Sunlight is coming from the sun, and water is coming from the roots, and carbon dioxide is coming from the environment. So plant is taking, these are the raw materials. Those are carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight. These are all the raw materials that is needed by the plant, and plant has this chlorophyll within itself. The food prepared is carbohydrates. Once they finish making the food, it will be in the carbohydrate form. It can be in the various forms of the carbohydrate. The unutilized or unused carbohydrates are stored in the form of starch. Plant usually, like if you see the fruits are usually they are sweet because they are stored form of carbohydrates. They have a lot of storage in them, lot of sugar is there in that. So they are, it is a kind of unused carbohydrate, or it is a kind of stored carbohydrate, and it is in the sweet form. So usually unused carbohydrates are stored in the form of starch. Starch is a sugary substance. In the human, carbohydrates are stored as glycogen. We also have a system of storage that we store it in the glycogen. Because why do we need to store? Suppose if you are eating food now and it is digested and completely utilized, and next we don't have any food further. We need some reserved food materials so that that can help us, our body, to gain more energy. That's why there is the need of storage. So in case of plants it is starch, that is a reserved food material, and in case of humans it is glycogen. And in this photosynthesis process we also told that there is oxygen which is coming out